Hey everyone, thanks for being here again today. We're going to be using our skills of converting mixed numbers into improper fractions, and we're going to be looking at using those improper fractions in adding and subtracting today. So let's get ready and get going with the lesson. Okay, so in this video we're going to be adding some mixed numbers, and the way that we're going to start doing that is we're going to move it into improper fractions. We've done a video on the improper fractions before. So I'm going to take my 2 3/4 and I need to turn that into an improper fraction. So I'm going to go 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3, so I get 11/4. And now I'm going to convert my 3 2/3 rather into another improper fraction. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11/3. Now this is an interesting question because I've got the same numerator, but remember when we're dealing with fractions, we need to talk about pieces that are the same size, and our denominator tells us what size our whole is cut into. So in this case, and I always like to do a little bit of a visual on this. So if I take a shape and I put it in here. So this first guy, I know that all of the pieces in it are going to be cut into or are going to be fourths. So it means that the main piece has been cut into 4 equal pieces. Now the next guy, the one beside it, it was the same size. We're going to think of it as a whole, so the holes are going to be the same size. But in this piece, or in this hole, we've got it cut into thirds. So the pieces are a different size. What I need to do is I need to find a common denominator for these. So I'm just going to get this out of my way. So in order to find a common denominator, usually the easiest thing to do is you multiply each fraction by the other denominator. So for instance, I would take 11/4 and I would take the 11 and multiply it by 3. Actually, I'm going to turn that into a different color so that you can see where those numbers are coming from. So I'm going to multiply the 11 by 3, and in order to keep this an equivalent fraction, I need to multiply the bottom by 3 as well. Now, the other fraction, I'm going to multiply it by the 4, which is the denominator from the other side. Now, again, this will find you a common denominator, not always the lowest one. So this is just a really fast way of doing this. So 3 times 11, 33. 3 times 4, 12. 11 times 4, 44. 3 times 4, 12. Now, it may look like we've got some really big numbers here, but that's okay. We're going to deal with those later. Now that I know that my pieces of the whole are going to be 12ths, so I've got the same size piece, but I've cut them into 12 pieces. What I'm going to do now is I know my denominator is going to be out of 12. I just need to say, well, I had 33 pieces here and I had 44 pieces here, so altogether I should have 77 pieces. Now I can take this and I could find out its mixed number, which is always a good habit to get into. So I want to see, if I had 77 pieces, how many holes can I make if it takes 12 pieces to make that hole? So this is where knowing your multiplication works out really well. But I could say that, and you can count up to get to it, but I know in this case that there are 6 whole pieces there, and 6 times 12 is 72. So that means I would have 5 pieces left over. And again, it still takes 12 pieces to make a whole item. So in this case, if I took 2 3/4 and I added 3 2/3, I would actually get 6 5/12 as a total. Now this skill works exactly the same in subtraction, except what we would do is instead of adding our numerators, we would subtract them, because adding and subtracting are basically the same operation, just one direction is the opposite. So we could do this in a very similar manner. I can demonstrate that. I will make up some fractions here. I'm going to take this and just move it out of the way. So if I had 7/5 minus 3/5. Again, I've got a common denominator here, so I'm not going to talk about uh, this skill right here. Same idea. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to subtract my numerators. So 7 minus 3 is 4. So in this case, that would be our subtracting fractions. Hope this helps, and of course, reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much.